Griffey's collision. Ken Griffey Jr. was baseball's brightest star in 1995, smashing home runs and playing defense like he was built for highlight reels. Then came the collision that silenced a stadium. Chasing a deep fly ball, Griffey sprinted into the Kingdom wall and his wrist took the full impact. The bone shattered, leaving him sidelined for 73 games. Before the injury, he was hitting over 320 with power numbers that screamed MVP. Fans feared the face of the sport had been derailed at just 25 years old. Griffey came back, but some say the wall was the first domino in a career repeatedly interrupted by injuries. What should have been a flawless rise to the top became a story of brilliance shadowed by what-ifs, and the string of brutal moments was only just beginning. The All-Star Game incident. The 1970 All-Star Game should have been a fun showcase. Instead, it became infamous. Pete Rose, known for never playing half speed, came charging home from second on a single. Rather than sliding, he barreled straight into catcher Ray Fosse. The collision separated Fosse's shoulder and left him in pain for years. Before that night, he was hitting .312 with 16 home runs and looking like a rising star. After, he never hit more than 12 in a season. His swing was never the same. His arm strength weakened, and his career slowly declined. Rose scored the winning run, but at the cost of another man's future. An exhibition game forever altered Fosse's life, proving that not all legends are built on championships. Some are carved out of one brutal, controversial moment that leaves fans debating decades later. The Stanton wild pitch. September 2014 showed just how fragile dominance can be. Giancarlo Stanton, the National League's home run leader, dug in against Mike Fiers. The next pitch, an 88-mile-per-hour fastball, smashed directly into his face. He collapsed, bloodied and unconscious, as teammates rushed over. Stanton suffered fractures to his orbital bone, cheek, and jaw, along with missing teeth. His season ended instantly. What made it even scarier was how close he was to winning MVP that year. When he finally returned, Stanton wore a protective face guard that became part of his look. He still hit mammoth blasts, including a 59-homer MVP season, but pitchers attacked him differently after that night. The fear factor had shifted. He wasn't just a power hitter anymore. He was a survivor. And as terrifying as that was, the list of nightmare moments keeps growing. Jason Kendall's ankle. On July 4th, 1999, Jason Kendall tried to beat out a bunt, sprinting hard down the line. But the moment his foot hit the bag, his ankle bent in a way no one should ever see. The joint completely dislocated, and bone pierced through the skin in one of the most gruesome scenes ever witnessed on a baseball diamond. Kendall missed the rest of the season, and while he returned the following year, he was never quite the same athlete. His explosiveness was gone. Fans who saw it live say the image still haunts them decades later. Baseball has always had freak accidents, but this was something else entirely. And as shocking as Kendall's moment was, what happened next in another player's comeback was even crueler. The Dravecky Crack. Dave Dravecky's story began as inspirational, but it ended in heartbreak. After beating cancer in his pitching arm, he returned to the mound in 1989 to thunderous applause. But just one start later, as he delivered a pitch to Tim Raines, a crack echoed through the stadium. His humerus bone had snapped mid-throw. Dravecky collapsed in agony, clutching the same arm that had once carried him back from cancer. Weeks later, celebrating with teammates, the bone broke again. Doctors soon found the cancer had returned, and his arm was eventually amputated. Dravecky never pitched again, but his courage turned him into a symbol of perseverance. The moment showed baseball can deliver stories bigger than the game, but it can also take everything in one pitch. The Posey Block. In 2011, Buster Posey was fresh off a Rookie of the Year award and already a World Series champion. Then came the play that changed his career and the rulebook itself. Posey was blocking the plate when Scott Cousins barreled into him with full force. The collision snapped his fibula and tore ligaments in his ankle. Posey's season was finished, and the Giants' future looked uncertain, but the fallout went beyond San Francisco. MLB introduced new rules limiting home plate collisions, forever altering how catchers defend the dish. Posey came back the next season to win MVP and another championship, proving resilience can overcome even the ugliest injuries. Yet every replay of that collision reminds fans how quickly greatness can shatter. And not all players had the same comeback story. Some never got their vision back at all. Conigliaro's fracture. Tony Conigliaro was destined for superstardom, the youngest American League player ever to reach 100 career home runs. But in August 1967, everything stopped. A Jack Hamilton fastball drilled him in the face, fracturing his cheekbone and dislocating his jaw. The worst damage was to his eye, where permanent vision issues lingered. Conigliaro missed more than a year, and although he won Comeback Player of the Year in 1969, he was never truly the same. He played with courage, but his career faded in his 20s, leaving fans wondering what might have been. Many still see him as one of baseball's most tragic what-if stories. He had the power, the charisma, and the numbers to rival the greats, but one pitch robbed him of a Hall of Fame path. And years later, another violent collision made headlines again. Cameron and Beltrán's collision, August 2005. The Padres faced the Mets in San Diego when a routine fly ball turned into a disaster. Mike Cameron and Carlos Beltrán both sprinted toward it, eyes locked on the ball, but neither saw the other. A split second later, they collided head first with a crack so loud it echoed through the stadium. Cameron went down unconscious with multiple facial fractures, blood on the grass, while Beltrán staggered away dazed. Cameron needed surgery and missed the rest of the season. The play looked less like baseball and more like a car crash. It became the ultimate warning about the dangers of poor outfield communication. And while Cameron's career eventually continued, the moment stuck in fans' minds as one of the sport's most terrifying visuals. But as bad as that was, what happened to the next pitcher is unforgettable. The Saunders Snap. Few careers ended with as much cruel repetition as Tony Saunders. In 1999, while pitching to Juan Gonzalez, Saunders delivered a fastball and his arm snapped mid-throw. The sound was horrifying, and he collapsed screaming in pain as teammates rushed toward the mound. After surgery and grueling rehab, Saunders attempted a comeback the next year, but in spring training, the nightmare repeated. His arm broke again in nearly the same spot. Doctors advised him to retire at just 26 years old. His once promising future disappeared before it even began. Fans who saw it couldn't believe the same injury could strike twice, in almost the same way. The moment became one of the most haunting reminders of how fragile a pitcher's career can be. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. The bat shard incident. Steve Yeager was in the on-deck circle in 1976 when disaster struck. A teammate's bat shattered on contact, and a jagged shard of wood came flying toward him. It speared into his throat, puncturing just inches from his esophagus. Blood poured as players sprinted for help. Doctors later removed multiple fragments from his neck in an emergency surgery that saved his life. Amazingly, Yeager survived and eventually returned to play, even becoming World Series MVP in 1981. But the accident shook baseball so much, it led to the invention of the catcher's throat guard, which is now standard equipment across every level. Yeager's injury became a turning point for player safety, a horrifying reminder that danger can come even when you aren't at the plate. And yet, other players weren't so lucky. Some lost their careers instantly with no comeback. The Ricochet. Juan Encarnacion was just standing in the on-deck circle in 2007, moments away from hitting, when disaster struck. A foul ball ricocheted back and smashed into his face. The impact fractured his orbital bone and damaged his optic nerve, leaving him permanently blind in one eye. Doctors compared it to cracking an eggshell. At 31 years old, Encarnacion had just hit 19 home runs the season before and was still a reliable contributor, but his career ended instantly that night. He never played again, and his name became linked to one of baseball's most terrifying freak accidents. Fans couldn't believe it happened not during an at-bat, too, but while simply waiting in the circle. The randomness made it even harder to process. And when people thought they had seen everything, another pitcher's nightmare injury showed just how cruel baseball can be. Browning's arm. Tom Browning, who once etched his name into history with the 1988 perfect game, suffered one of the most haunting injuries a pitcher has ever endured. In 1994, he unleashed a pitch and his arm gave out mid-delivery. The snap was so loud, fans swore they heard it from the stands. Browning immediately dropped, clutching his arm in agony. The humerus bone had fractured cleanly, ending his season on the spot. Despite rehab efforts, he never returned to his dominant form. He finished with 123 career wins and a World Series ring, but that unforgettable image Browning writhing on the ground, overshadowed his accomplishments completely. Even today, it ranks among the scariest visuals in baseball history. And if that wasn't enough proof of how fragile the sport can be, the very next case showed how a line drive can end everything. The line drive incident. In 2000, Red Sox pitcher Bryce Flory delivered a pitch to Ryan Thompson of the Yankees, only for a screaming line drive to rocket straight back into his face. The ball crushed into him so violently that multiple bones shattered around his eye. Flory collapsed on the mound as teammates and trainers rushed to help. He required extensive surgery and briefly returned to the majors, but his vision was never the same. His career ended soon after, and fans who watched it live still recall the horrifying moment. Few injuries have been so graphic, and a few pitchers have been struck with such bad luck at such a crucial stage of their careers. Baseball prides itself on its tradition and beauty, but moments like this expose the brutal risks. And sometimes, the damage isn't just physical, it changes everything. Thon's hit by pitch. In 1984, Dickie Thon was a rising star at shortstop, quick on the bases and showing all the tools of a future all-star. Then, a Mike Torres fastball struck him square in the face. The pitch shattered his orbital bone and permanently damaged his depth perception. Before the injury, Thon had hit .286 with speed and power. After it, he fought bravely to stay on the field but never regained his edge. His batting average fell, and the explosive athleticism that once defined him faded. What made it even sadder was how young he was, just entering his prime years. Fans saw not just a season taken from him, but an entire career arc altered. And if that wasn't enough, the final case on this list shows how even a Hall of Famer can see everything vanish in an instant. Pucketts Jaw. Kirby Puckett was a legend in Minnesota, a Hall of Fame talent with 2 World Series titles already secured. But in September 1995, everything changed when a Dennis Martinez fastball struck him right in the face. He fractured his jaw, but the real damage came later. During spring training in 1996, Puckett woke up with blurred vision in his right eye. Doctors found irreversible damage, and Puckett was forced to retire at just 35 years old. He walked away with 2,304 hits and a legacy cemented, but his career ended far too soon. Fans couldn't help but wonder how much more he could have accomplished. It was the perfect reminder that even icons aren't invincible. Baseball gives legends, but it also takes them. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you're really going to love.